Hey everyone, welcome to another BTM screencast. Today we're going to be going over Unit 40, Essentials of Concrete Work. And as you can see, we're back in the Masonry book. So by the end of this chapter, you'll be able to describe the composition of concrete, explain what air entrained concrete is and its advantages, describe how concrete is tested for strength, list and explain the steps in preparing, placing, and finishing concrete flat work, and describe textured and stenciled decorative concrete and its advantages. So this unit will provide basic information on the composition of concrete. Concrete is one of the most versatile of all structural building materials. Decorative concrete is an exciting new development with an increased market. Concrete is composed of four things: Portland cement, aggregates, so this is two of them, so there's sand and stone, water, so those basic four make it up. So your cement, sand, stone, and water. And then we have admixtures. Admixtures can do a variety of things. They can be a water reduction one to increase the strength. They other ones to help reduce the set time, and other ones to help increase the set time. So you have more workability. When you test concrete on the job, there's the slump test, and we will go over this for the performance assessment to determine what slump your concrete is at. It's very quick and accurate and for an on-site inspection. So basically, you pour it, it's like a funnel, take it off, and you see how far it drops, how far it slumps. And then we'll be able to figure out what the slump of your concrete is. The lower the slump, the higher the strength of the concrete because there's less water in it. The cylinder test is a compressive strength test. It takes much longer than a slump test. Generally, you'll see these at 7, 14, and 28 days, I believe. Preparation to place concrete. So the first step in placing concrete is to prepare the area. So previously we went over the formwork, and you already prepare much of the area when you prepare your formwork. So you have to make sure that there's no sod, so that's grass, weeds, plants, large rocks, stones, or trash, which sometimes you might find in your formwork if you set it the day before and then someone else comes in. Make sure that the ground is solid, make sure that it's tamped. And then you have to set your forms and place the ready mix concrete in the forms. Now, we won't have ready mix, that's the stuff that gets hauled in with a truck, but we will have the mix that we have in the lab that you'll be making in the wheelbarrow. Some of the tools needed to finish concrete. Screed, so we called this a straight edge in the previous one. A concrete rake, which we can get away with not using. The bricklayer's trowel, wrong, that's for laying bricks, not for laying concrete. Magnesium float, these are lightweight, they're easy to use, and that's what we're going to focus on when we're placing. A small hand-sized traditional wood float, we won't be using those either. We're going to be focusing on using the magnesium float as well as the edger and the groover that we saw in the previous screencast. So here's some further ones. The bull float. So a bull float is like a massive trowel, right? They're 4, 5, 6 feet wide. We won't need them. That's going to exceed the size of your formwork significantly. A stainless steel finishing trowel, hand size sidewalk edger, which we'll be using, hand size cement groover, which we have those as well. If you remember, 25 to 33% the thickness of the slab, and the power trowel or trowel machine, we won't be using those. Specialty concrete finishing tools. So purchase only brand name specialty tools for professional use. One excellent brand is Marshalltown. They have a variety of tools. Bond is also a good one. Some specialty concrete tools, the concrete placer, which we covered previously, we won't need it in this instance. Magnesium straight Darby, so the Darbies are just really long trowels. Again, it'll exceed the size of the little slabs that you're pouring. A round end steel Fresno with a rock and roll bracket. These are for larger pours. The Fresnos they're double rounded and they help reduce lines when you're finishing. The Wa Light Euro Decker float. No, I wouldn't worry about that either. Again, these are some specialty tools. The Bond Electric Speedy Screed, not in here. A safety step edger and groove spacer. These actually aren't used anymore. We got away from that quite a while ago. Handicap ramp bull float. We're not doing handicap ramps, so you don't need to worry about that. A bronze hand edger. We're going to be using stainless steel ones. And foam kneeling pads with holders. These are important because you spend a lot of time on your knees. So having comfortable either knee pads or knee boards with foam on them is important. When placing the concrete, put it in a wheelbarrow. You're going to be mixing in the wheelbarrow. So mix it with a shovel or a concrete hoe. We're not going to have the welded wire fabric or the wire mesh, so we won't need to worry about pulling that up during the course of the pour. Tapping along the edges of the forms of the hammer, what that does is it creates a consolidation and it works out a lot of the air bubbles. So if you look at your formwork and you allow the air bubbles in there, it'll develop what's called a honeycomb. You'll fail. So if I see honeycombs in your work, done. You're gonna have to redo it. Add additional concrete with the shovel as needed, and remove excess concrete and add it to the next area to be placed. This sounds a little confusing right now, but once we get into it and you start pouring it, it'll make a lot more sense as to what a lot of these things mean and how it's applied. When finishing concrete, so after you place it, you want to screed it. Screeding, again, it aligns the top of, in this case, they have this edge here, and then I'm guessing formwork up here, and it creates a nice straight line from that point to that point. Then you can float it, which is what's going on here. After it's floated, you run your edge, which you'll be doing. After you run your edge, you can groove it. So we'd be taking a straight edge like this, and then you'd be able to extend this joint from here out that way. And then you could trowel it when you're ready to finish it. Finishes for concrete. So one of them that you'll be doing is the broom finish. So it's a rough finish. We have a broom specifically for that. So it's a concrete finishing broom. So don't pay attention to the corn straw house broom or wide floor broom. Nah, we have one specifically for concrete because if you use one that's for a floor, you're going to end up having sawdust, who knows what else in it. So we have one specifically for concrete. That's all it's going to be used for. Done. Just make sure that it's clean. The exposed aggregate finish. This is pretty fancy. We won't be doing that. In addition to the broom finish, we're also going to be doing a steel trowel finish, which you'll see in a lot of residential. You'll see sometimes on porches, basements, stuff like that. And commercial buildings such as a school, like the floors that you walk on, all of those will be steel troweled because it gives a nice smooth hard finish. Another one that we're going to be doing is the hand rubbed finish using a magnesium float, and it allows you to make like a pretty nice swirl pattern. Curing is important for concrete. In order for concrete to attain its maximum strength, it has to be cured or hardened properly. There's a lot of different methods for curing concrete depending on the job specifications and requirements. So depending on the temperature and stuff too, you also have to they're actually called curing blankets, and it'll maintain it at a certain temperature and it won't allow the vapor to escape that fast. So here's some areas that you can have problems with in concrete. Crazing. So crazing looks like a bunch of spider cracks going throughout the surface of the concrete. This is if there's too much wind, and it's called chapping. It'll chap, and then after it's set, you'll actually see these little spider cracks appear everywhere. That's letting you know that the top quarter inch or so set a lot faster than what it did underneath. Scaling, we see a lot of this here. This will happen especially with salt, and you'll see the finish actually pop off and it scales away. Dusting. Dusting is an issue if it's improperly finished or there's too much water in it. The last quarter, 3/8 of an inch of it, uh, the water to cement ratio is way off and it'll actually create like a powder. You could sweep it off, you could scrape it with your nail. It's no good. I see that here, you're going to fail. If you place the concrete too thinly, it'll end up cracking. So, as mentioned previously, generally nothing less than 4 inches. If your stuff is less than that, you'll fail. Proportions to mix your own concrete. So, two commonly used formulas for mixing concrete. 1-2-3 is a pretty good one. So, 1 part cement, 2 parts sand, 3 parts stone. Another good one is 1-3-3. So, 1 part cement, 3 parts sand, 3 parts stone. And those will give you pretty good workability, pretty good consistency. It's not done too often anymore because you'll see in the lab we have bags of Quikrete. It's a little easier to use. And if you're doing a large area, you're not going to mix it either. You're going to end up getting it trucked in. There's also decorative concrete, textured concrete, and stenciled textured concrete. We're not going to be getting into that. It's really a specialty area, and that goes beyond the scope of what we do here. If you want to know more about it, decorative concrete's pretty cool. It's fun to do. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it and let you know how to do it. We just don't have the right equipment here. That's kind of it. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, we'll see you next time.